Hey there, this is Areli from withhisgifts.com. Welcome and thank you for stopping by. Today I have another video tutorial for you and we're going to create this gorgeous card. So let's go ahead and get started. For today's project we'll be using quite the potpourri of stamp sets. We're going to create our own background with the help of the Hardwood background stamp set, along with the timeless textures and the butterfly basics. We will be stamping our sentiment from the teeny tiny wishes. And the star of today's project is the Lots of Lavender stamp set. This is a Sale-A-Bration reward that you can earn for free when you make a minimum $50 purchase from my online store. Yes, free. Be sure to visit my website at withhisgifts.com and find out everything Sale-A-Bration so you don't miss out. We'll also be using a couple of the framelits. We'll be using the layering ovals and the cupcake cutouts. The ink colors we're using today are Perfect Plum, Always Artichoke, Smoky Slate, and Basic Gray. We'll also be using the Versamark stamp pad along with some clear embossing powder. And for our paper, I have my card base here in the Smoky Slate that is cut at 5.5 by 8.5 and scored at 4 1/4. I have a piece of Whisper White that is cut at 5 1/4 by 4. I have two pieces of Whisper White cut at 2 3/4 by 4 1/4 each. I have a long strip of the Whisper White that is cut at 3/4 of an inch by 5 1/4. And then a scrap piece of Whisper White that is cut at 2 by 2. We will be using some of the fabulous Whisper White organza ribbon. I have 3 strips of it here, each cut at 6.5 inches. I will be using a delicate doily along with a single pearl basic jewel. And some of the tools that we'll need for today's project are the Big Shot as well as the heat tool. We'll also need my piercing mat along with the paper piercing tool. I will need some Stampin' Dimensionals and my snail adhesive, mini glue dots, the liquid multi-purpose glue, my bone folder, paper snips, and a sponge dauber. And I failed to mention with the papers and ribbon that I am also going to be using some Whisper White baker's twine. Now let's go ahead and get started with our stamping. I'm going to go ahead and grab my 5.5 by 4 1/4 piece of the Whisper White along with my Smoky Slate and my Hardwood background stamp set that I have mounted on my block F. I am going to lay that just like that, and then I'm going to take my ink pad and stamp my stamp just like so. Okay? Then I'm going to take my Whisper White cardstock and lay it right on top. I'm going to grab me a piece of scrap paper, lay that on top. I'm just going to rub my paper, ensuring that it makes contact with the stamp down below and that the impression is transferred onto my cardstock. Right? Let's lift that up. And there we go. Just like that, we have us a wood grain background. And step 2 for our background is to go ahead and grab this stamp here from the Timeless Textures along with the Smoky Slate. And we are going to go ahead and ink up our stamp. And we're going to come around the edges. So we're going to push down onto our cardstock and then pull out. And we are going to follow that all the way around the perimeter of this piece of cardstock. Okay, part 3 to our background is to grab the Butterfly Basics stamp set, and specifically the butterfly and the postage stamp. And we are going to stamp those in, you guessed it, the Smoky Slate. I'm going to start with my postage stamp. Just going to stamp right there and there, over here, and over here. Then we'll grab the butterfly, go ahead and ink that up, and we're just going to come and put the butterfly right next to where we put our postage stamp. This here is one of my go-to background stamps, or background, one of my go-to backgrounds. The Timeless Texture and Butterfly Basics with these 3 stamps in particular. They are just gorgeous, and they make for a lovely background to any of your cards. I find that they look best in the neutrals. So your browns and your grays, the lighter colors in particular, gorgeous background every time. Now the butterfly, I don't know if I mentioned it because I'm talking, but I'm just stamping my butterfly right next to each of my postage stamps. And I'm pressing a little hard because I want to make sure to get a good impression. This Smoky Slate is very subtle, but we do want to see the lovely butterflies on our background. So there is that. And then to finish up the background, we'll grab our sponge dauber, and then we'll just kind of go around our edges. And there is the background. Isn't that lovely? We're going to set it aside for right now. And we're going to grab one of the smaller 2 3/4 by 4 1/4 Whisper White. We're going to get started with stamping our lavender. And we're going to start with the outline here and stamp that in the Smoky Slate. Then I'm going to come in and stamp in the middle. We will be cutting out our lavender with our scalloped oval die, so we want to make sure to leave enough room around the sides so that we don't lose any of our lovely image. Okay, there's that. How lovely is that? Next, I'm going to put my Smoky Slate away and grab my Perfect Plum. Then I'm going to go ahead and grab my scrap paper. And this is the image that I'm stamping next. So I will go ahead and ink up my stamps. And then I'm going to stamp off. And then I'm also going to grab my piercing mat because I have a photopolymer here. And I want to make sure that we get a good impression. So let's do that again. Ink up, stamp off, and then line up your stamp with your image below as much as you can, and then set her down like that. Okay, let's put the Perfect Plum away. Let's grab our Always Artichoke. So next we're going to stamp these sleeves here and these stems down below, and we're going to be using the leaves and the stems. We're also going to use the bow here next, but let's go ahead and grab our leaves. Okay, so I have my leaves ready to go. I'm going to go ahead and grab my scrap paper again. I'm going to ink up, stamp off, and then come down and stamp my image. And then the smaller leaves, ink on, stamp off, and then stamp your image like so. And then do the same thing with our stems, ink on, stamp off, and then just like that. And there she is. Isn't she lovely? We're going to finish her off with some heat embossing. So let's go ahead and get our Versamark ink pad ready. and our clear embossing powder ready. Right there, so I can grab it quickly. What we're going to do is the images that we just stamped in the Perfect Plum and Always Artichoke, we're going to restamp them in the Versamark and heat emboss with the clear embossing powder. So let's go ahead and start with the lavender. So I'm just getting it nice and sticky with my Versamark pad. I'm going to stamp right on top, like so. And I'm going to grab the leaves and ink that up with my Versamark and come down onto my image, like so. Right? And then the smaller leaves on the other side, Versamark and stamp. Alrighty, and then finally we have our stems. So Versamark and stamp, and then the bow, we have not stamped our bow yet. So I'm going to go ahead and grab that really quick. And we're going to put some Versamark on that as well. Okay, and because the bow didn't have any color, it's going to stay white, but embossed. Okay, let's go ahead and grab our powder. And let's get this going. Just like that. Okay, so now that is covered in the powder, we're going to grab our heat tool and melt that powder. There she is, all shiny and glorious. So that is done. We're going to set that with our background and come back to that and finish up our stamping here. I'm going to grab the strip of the Whisper White along with my scrap sheet of paper. I'm going to grab this stamp here along with my Perfect Plum. And what I'm going to do here is create a faux ribbon. Okay. So I'm inking it up in the Perfect Plum. Whew. And then I'm going to stamp off and then stamp onto my strip. Off, on, off, on, off, on. Okay, and that is good. And then I'm going to grab my Versamark, and then I'm going to take my strip and then ink side down. I'm just going to set it right onto my pad, and I'm going to get that sticky goodness onto the color side, just like that. Alright, and then my embossing powder, just get that back. I will grab my pad or my strip and we'll just put some powder on it. Turn it around, get the other side. Okay, and then let's get some heat on here and melt that powder. Okay, and there it is. We will set that aside and then get the 2x2 scrap piece of the Whisper White, and we're going to go ahead and get our sentiment stamped. And for our sentiment, we are using the Thank You that is from the Teeny Tiny Wishes, and I'm going to use my basic gray. Alrighty, so I'm going to ink up my Thank You. Then I will be stamping off and then getting that right onto the center. Okay, so now we have all our stamping done and we are ready for the big shot. So I have my magnetic platform. I have my cutting plate. I'm going to go ahead and grab my lavender. I'm going to grab the other piece of the Whisper White that is the same size that we didn't stamp and set that right next to it. And then my sentiment. I am using the 2 largest scalloped ovals from the Layering Oval Stamp Set. And I'm going to put this right here. The smaller one will cut out our lavender. We're going to lose some of the stems down below, but that's okay. We want to make sure to have a little bit of white space up top to kind of balance the white space on the sides. And I'm going to secure it with some washi tape to ensure that it stays put. Then I am going to put the larger scallop on the other piece of Whisper White, securing that. Just because it's such a close fit, I want to make sure that it doesn't move around on me. And then here's this one from the cupcake cutouts. It's a little label, and we're going to just frame our sentiment with that, and then another piece of washi tape. Then my acrylic plate. So magnetic platform, acrylic plate, paper, dies, another acrylic plate, and off to the big shot I go, and I'll be back. And there are our die cuts. We're going to go ahead and grab our sentiment and set it aside for a second. I'm grabbing my piercing mat. I'm turning it around because this is the side that I pierce on. I have my paper piercing tool, and we are going to pierce some holes onto our scalloped ovals. So I am going to go, and starting at the top, I'm just going to poke a hole into each of my little scallops, like so. I'm going to go all the way around the perimeter. You see what I'm doing? And I'm going to do this to both of my scalloped ovals. And there are my updated scalloped ovals. I'm going to go ahead and grab my sentiment, and with the sentiment facing the right way, for facing me, the corner here, I'm going to go ahead and not really close to the corner, I'm coming in a little bit, but I'm going to poke a hole there because we will thread some baker's twine through there when we put our card together. So alrighty, that is it for that. Well, let's go ahead and, before we set this aside, I'm going to grab my liquid glue, and I am going to apply some onto my smaller, it doesn't matter which one, but I'm not coming all the way out to the edge, just putting some glue on here, and I am going to marry these two. So the bigger scallop on the bottom, the smaller with my lavender up on top. And the reason why I'm using the liquid glue, it's because it gives me some give. So when I set it down, I can kind of move it around and make sure that it is perfectly centered on top of the bigger scalloped oval. So just like that, I'm going to flip this around, and I'm going to get the assistance of a block here and just give it a good press. This ensures that the liquid glue kind of spreads out and that both of the scallops grab a hold of each other. There you go. Isn't that lovely? So let's set that aside. Now, on to our faux ribbon. Let's turn this around, and let's grab our organza ribbon. So right. I have some glue dots here, and then I'm just going to put a strip, maybe 3 of them, down the center of my faux ribbon. Sorry, I can't talk and do stuff. Okay, one more. I want to go all the way to my edge here. Come on, glue dot. Alright. So this angle is very, very weird and difficult because I can't really see All right, I got it. Okay, so what I did was I have some glue dots right here, all right? And that is going to hold my ribbon, all right? So I'm going to come the bottom border. I'm going to line up my first strip of organza ribbon, making sure that I have equal amounts, or not equal, but enough ribbon to go around the back on each of the sides. So there, and then push it into my glue dot. Then I'm going to come and I am going to line up the second strip. I'm going to come on to, so the bottom border of my second strip is going to meet the top border of the first strip that we put down. And don't worry about the sides, just making sure that the glue dot, where the glue dot is, that's all lined up for you. And then the last one we'll do the same. So matching up our bottom border with the top border of the previous one. Oops, we have to move this one over a little bit because we need some ribbon. Okay, so let's see. Okay, so when you're done, it should look something like that, which is like, what are you doing, Aurelie? Okay, that's good. That is exactly how it's supposed to look. Let's push down on those glue dots, all right? And then the next thing that we're going to do is we're going to turn this around, and I'm going to put some snail adhesive on each end. Okay, so I have glue or adhesive on each end. So then I'm going to go ahead and start with the bottom, and I'm going to bring that from the center where it's secured with my glue dot, and I'm going to line that up with the bottom of my paper faux ribbon, and then I'm going to secure it with the adhesive that I just put on the back. Do the same thing for the other side. So I'm going to come bottom and then go around to the back, pressing it into my adhesive. So let's do the same thing for the second ribbon. So let's come, pull it over to the end and tuck it in to the back. Same thing here. Ribbon and tuck it into the back. And then the last one, let's pull it. Okay. Tuck it into the back, flip it over, do the same thing on the other side. And this makes for, I mean, I know this was probably like tedious. It didn't take very long, but the result is gorgeous. Absolutely gorgeous. So I think it is well worth it. And I know I've seen people dye their organza ribbon with their alcohol ink or alcohol markers. And it's lovely. It really is. But the color did not work for me. So I found this to be perfect and a perfect match for my project. So, all right, let's go ahead and get this card put together. I'm going to grab my sentiment and I'm going to give it a once around with my doily that already has the smoky slate on it. I'm going to also do the same for, I think I have to load some more color on there. We want the color, oops. I'm going to have to grab another doily because I don't want that color. That's too dark. Hold on. New dauber. Smoky slate is what I want, actually. And we're just going to go ahead and dust the scalloped edges with the smoky slate. Okay, and let's go ahead and pull up our edges of the top scalloped oval, just so we can give it a little bit of personality. All right. Okay, that looks good. I think we're ready to rock and roll. So let's go ahead and grab our cardstock, our card base. Grabbing my bone folder. Let's fold our card base and crease it. All right. The next thing we want to do is flip over our lovely background. Remember we made that earlier? I'm going to put some snail adhesive on that. Oopsie, just ran out. Well, let me grab some because I need some. It's quicker to grab my fast fuse, so that's what I did. All right, so there's that. Let's go ahead and mount that onto our card base. And there's that. Next thing we want to do is go ahead and grab our doily and some snips or scissors and cut it in half. Okay, and then what we're going to do is we're going to line each of our pieces with the top and bottom card front and center it just like that. And then one at a time, I'm going to hold that in place while lifting up the bottom. I'm going to put on a little bit of fast fuse there, and then I'm going to secure my doily. Do the same thing on the bottom. Make sure it's where it needs to be. A little bit of adhesive and then secure it. Okay, so next we get to put this across. Tell me it wasn't worth it. Look how gorgeous that is. What? Okay, flip this over, and I'm going to put some of the fast fuse along the middle, and then I'm going to grab my liquid glue, and I'm going to put liquid glue on the ends where my ribbon is. Okay, the liquid glue is going to make sure that the ribbon sticks or stays put, adheres to the paper that it's hugging, and then also make sure that my edges stay nice and put here. So let's center that. Remember, there's fast fuse in the middle, so be very careful. You probably didn't run out of the snail. Okay, so I like to push my edges down first, make sure they are where they need to be before I do this. Okay, just like that. And then I will go ahead and get the help of some blocks here. Okay, and then let's leave that there for 1 second while we put some dimensionals on the back of our lovely lavender. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to put 2 on top and 2 on the bottom. All right, now let's make sure and put this right on the center of the doily here, like that. Isn't that gorgeous? Isn't that gorgeous? This is such a beautiful card. Okay, now the last thing we need to do is to put our sentiment down, and for that I'm going to grab a little bit of my Whisper White Baker's Twine. I'm going to take some of the twine and I'm going to thread it through the hole that we pierced into our lovely little label. If I could see, I can't see. I can't see. Let's see, let's make this a little bit bigger because my eyes would be grateful. Okay, so let's go in. There we go. Okay, I'm going to cut off a little bit of this excess. So we probably need just a little bit. We're not tying it or anything. What we're going to do is grab us a glue dot. Go ahead and use my piercing tool since it's there. I'm grabbing the glue dot and then I'm going to ball it up because I don't want it to be so big. And then the center, find the center of your ribbon, and we're going to be on the top scallop, right on the center and right on the edge of the top scallop. And I'm going to push down that glue dot right there. Okay, So now here is my sentiment. I'm going to grab my two ends, and then I am going to push them into my glue dot like so. Okay, and then I will cut away that little excess. Alright, so that's what we have so far. Next thing you want to do is grab you a little piece of the Whisper White baker's twine and make yourself a bow. However you make a bow, go ahead and do that. Okay, so there's my bow. That's as good a bow as I'm going to make. I'm going to go ahead and grab me another glue dot, my piercing tool. I'm going to ball it up, and then I'm going to set this right on top of the glue dot that is already there, holding our little tag with the sentiment. Okay, then I am going to put my ribbon right on top, push that down. I'm going to grab my little pearl, and then I'm going to put my pearl down right into the center of my bow. And then one final thing, I'm going to grab one final dimensional. I'm going to flip over my little tag with my sentiment, and I'm going to put the dimensional right on the back of that. Then I'm going to flip it back over, and I'm just going to let it randomly fall and then press down. And there you have it. Super duper easy, super duper quick, and super duper elegant. So make sure to jot down the supply list down below, then head on over to my website at withhisgifts.com and place your order today so you can make these gorgeous cards at home. And remember that the Lots of Lavender stamp set that we use today is a Sale-A-Bration reward that you can earn for free when you place a minimum $50 order through my online store. So head on over to my store and place your order today so you can get it for free. And then speaking of Sale-A-Bration, did you know that Sale-A-Bration is the absolute best time to join my team? It is. It is. In addition to your starter kit, which you get $125 worth of current Stampin' Up! Product of your choice for only $99 plus free shipping, during Sale-A-Bration you get to add 2 additional stamp sets to that kit. There is no retail max to the stamp set, so whatever you pick, throw it into your kit, and there you go. You can't go wrong with that, right? So head on over to my website at withhisgifts.com, click on join my team, read all about it. If you have any questions, let me know, and then when you're ready, click on join now. And that's all I have for today. Thank you so much for stopping by. If you enjoyed this video tutorial, please leave a comment down below, like this video, and don't forget to subscribe to my channel. Until next time, thank you and have a great day.